My name is Marissa Cole. I'm 33 years old, and I write code for a living in downtown Vancouver. I used to think logic and clean structure could save anything: projects, friendships, even relationships. If you just fix the bug, everything runs again. Turns out, some people don't want their bugs fixed. They call them personality. I've lived in my condo for 2 years now. It was my aunt's place, and when she passed away, she left it to me. The kind of gift that feels too big for your own hands. The last time it was valued, it was somewhere around $800,000. I still don't really like saying that out loud. For the last 2 years, I've shared it with my boyfriend, Samuel Torres, 28, part-time social media coordinator, and full-time figuring things out. Sam works maybe 20 hours a week, posting content for small brands, trying to grow his own personal pages. I cover the rest: mortgage, strata fees, utilities, groceries, most outings. If he contributes 200 or 300 a month, that's a good month. I didn't resent it at first. I make good money, and he kept talking about going back to school for marketing, building a portfolio, getting serious about his career. I believed him. I thought we were building something together, me holding things steady while he climbed. That was generous or naive. I'm still deciding. It started on a Saturday. That afternoon, Sam walked into my home office, leaned in the doorway, and said, "Hey, babe, my family's doing dinner at my aunt's place in Burnaby tonight. Big thing. My mom's been stressing about it all week. Can I take your car? Mine's still making that noise." His car is always making some kind of noise. I had a stack of code reviews to get through, and the idea of a quiet night with my laptop actually sounded nice. I looked up from the screen and smiled. "Sure, just text me when you're on your way back." He kissed my forehead, grabbed my keys from the bowl by the door, and left around 6. Jeans, hoodie, that faded baseball cap he always wears to family things. Totally normal. He said he'd probably be back around midnight. At 11:30 p.m., my phone rang. I was in bed, half reading documentation, half dozing. Sam's name didn't pop up. Instead, I saw Mrs. Torres. His mom rarely calls me. We text on birthdays, holidays, sometimes when she sees a dog she thinks I'd like. A call that late was instantly wrong. "Hi, Mrs. Torres," I answered, pushing my glasses up. "Everything okay?" She sounded genuinely confused. "Marissa, hi. Is everything okay with Sam? Did you two have a fight?" My stomach tightened. "No. Why? He left for dinner at your sister's place hours ago." There was a pause on the line, the quiet kind where you can hear someone rethinking everything. "Marissa," she said carefully, "there was no dinner at my sister's tonight. I don't know what Sam told you, but we didn't plan anything. I actually just got off the phone with her, asking if she'd seen him. He never came." For a second, I honestly thought I'd misheard her. The room felt smaller. "What?" I sat up fully. "He left here at 6, said he was going to your sister's in Burnaby, took my car." She sighed, worried and irritated all at once. "We've called him all evening. No answer. I thought maybe he was with you. If you hear from him, will you let me know? I'm starting to get concerned." "Of course," I said, and we hung up. I stared at the dark screen for a second, then called Sam. Ring, ring, voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. "Hey, where are you?" I texted. "Your mom called. She says there's no dinner?" No reply. I spent the next 3 hours doing something I had never done with Sam before, waiting and imagining the worst. Car accident. Phone dead. Hospital. Ditch. I pictured my car wrapped around some concrete pillar. Every time headlights flashed across the wall, I went to the window. Every brake squeal made my heart jump. It wasn't just worry. It was this creeping, oily sense that I'd just been handed proof that the story I was living in didn't match the one in his head. At 2:30 a.m., I finally heard a key turning in the lock. Adrenaline snapped me fully awake. I sat up straight on the couch as the door opened. Sam stumbled in, not fall-down drunk, but tilted, movement slightly delayed, pupils too wide. He smelled like sweat, perfume that wasn't mine, and cheap bar air, alcohol and old speakers. He also wasn't wearing what he'd left in. The hoodie and jeans were gone. Now he wore a fitted black button-up I'd never seen before. The sleeves rolled to his forearms, dark jeans that looked new, and his hair was styled with way more product than you'd ever need for your aunt's lasagna night. He jumped when he saw me. "Why are you still up?" he asked, like it was the most unreasonable thing in the world. My heart was pounding, but my voice came out cold. "Your mom called me." He blinked. "Okay?" "She wanted to know if we'd had a fight," I continued, not looking away, "because you never showed up for dinner, and, according to her, there was no dinner at your aunt's tonight, at all." I watched it happen on his face in real time. First confusion, like his brain hadn't caught up. Then the color drained. His eyes widened just a fraction, and then, almost immediately, his jaw tightened with anger instead of guilt. "My mom's confused," he said. "It was at my aunt's place in Burnaby, not my mom's house." "Sam," I said quietly, "your mom told me she already called your aunt. There was nothing planned anywhere tonight." For a second, the mask slipped and I saw panic. Then it was like he flipped a switch. "You're being intense," he snapped. "My phone died. I was out with Jessica. We decided to hit a couple clubs downtown, that's it. I don't have to give you a minute-by-minute itinerary of my life, Marissa." "Why didn't you just say that?" I asked. "Why make up an entire family dinner?" "Because you always make it a big deal when I want to go out," he shot back. "You act like I'm some irresponsible teenager every time I want to have fun. I knew you'd judge me if I said I was going clubbing." I thought back quickly to all the times I'd asked him to text when he got home safe, or reminded him not to drink and drive. Apparently that was judging. "Your mom was worried sick," I said. "I was worried sick. You disappeared with my car for 8 hours, lied about where you were, and didn't answer a single call." He rolled his eyes. "I told you my phone died. Can we not do this right now? I'm tired." He brushed past me toward the bedroom. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the blank space where the truth should have been. The next morning, around 10, my phone rang again. "Hello? Hi, is this Marissa Cole?" a man's voice asked. "This is Eastside Towing. We have a silver hatchback registered to you that was towed from a loading zone downtown last night. You'll need to pay $380 to get it released." I stared at the wall. "A loading zone?" "Yes, ma'am, outside a nightclub on Granville." I swallowed. I'll be there." I hung up, walked into the bedroom, and shook Sam's shoulder. "Hey," he mumbled, face buried in the pillow. "What?" "Where did you park my car last night?" He didn't even open his eyes. "In our usual spot in the garage. Why?" "The towing company just called," I said. "My car is at an impound lot, downtown, in a loading zone." That woke him up. "What?" He sat up fast, blinking. "No, that can't be right. His gaze darted away. Okay, we parked in a loading zone outside the club, but we were just going to be there for a bit, and then it got late, and the car got towed," I finished for him. He looked vaguely ashamed, but more annoyed than anything. "Yeah, I was going to tell you, this morning. It's not a big deal." "Not a big deal," I repeated slowly. "Right. Give me the keys so I can go get it." He froze. "What?" I asked. "Sam, my keys." He patted his pockets, checked the nightstand, the chair, his jacket, his backpack. Then we both tore through the apartment, couch cushions flying, drawers opening, the kitchen counter cleared, his pants pockets turned inside out. Nothing. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Sam," I said, my voice very calm, because if it wasn't calm, it was going to crack. "Where are my keys?" He shrugged one shoulder, staring at the floor. "I might have left them at the club, or dropped them somewhere on the street, or I think I gave them to someone to hold while I was dancing, and you just didn't get them back," I finished. "I didn't do it on purpose," he snapped, defensive now. "It was an accident. Why are you looking at me like that?" Because in that moment, my brain did something awful and efficient. It laid out the whole chain of consequences like a flowchart. Those keys don't just open my car, they open everything. The front door to my building, the underground parking, my unit, my mailbox, my office building via the fob on the same ring. And in the glove compartment of the car that was parked illegally outside a downtown club, there's a registration slip with my full name and address printed neatly on it. Whoever picked up that keyring doesn't just have keys. They have a map. I felt something go cold and hollow inside me. "Do you understand what that means?" I asked. He rolled his eyes like I was being dramatic again. "It means we call a locksmith, get new keys made. It's not like you got robbed." "Not yet," I said. On the Uber ride to the impound lot, while Sam scrolled through his phone like nothing was happening, I did the math in my head. Towing fee, $380. Emergency locksmith to make a new car key from the VIN, probably $250. New locks for the condo, new fob, mailbox, office access, who knows? $500, $800, more. All because he lied, took my car under false pretenses, parked illegally, and treated my life like a prop in his night out. At the impound lot, I paid the fee, waited an hour and a half for the locksmith, watched my day burn away in fluorescent waiting rooms. By the time we got home, it was almost 3 in the afternoon. My bank account was lighter. My body felt like it was full of wet sand. Sam walked in ahead of me and flopped onto the couch, grabbed the remote, and turned on the TV. Like it was any other Sunday. I stood there for a moment, looking at him, at the man who had been living in my house, eating food I paid for, driving a car I maintained, sleeping in my bed, telling me we were a team. Sam, I said finally, sitting down across from him, we need to talk. He sighed loudly, eyes still on the screen. Oh my God, are you still mad about last night? I took a deep breath. This isn't just about last night. It's about you lying about where you were, taking my car under false pretenses, parking it illegally, losing the keys that opened my home, not calling me when it got towed, and then acting like I'm crazy for being upset. He muted the TV, finally, turned to face me with that tight, annoyed expression he saves for when I bring up serious stuff. Accidents happen, Marissa, he said. It's not like I crashed your car or got a DUI. You're acting like the world is ending because of some lost keys. They're not some lost keys, I said quietly. They're the keys to my entire life. He leaned back, crossing his arms. They're just keys, Marissa. We'll find them or we won't. You'll get new ones. It's not that deep. And that was when something inside me finally clicked. Because it wasn't about the medal or the money. It was about the way he said just every time the consequences fell on me. Maybe for you, I said, feeling my voice go cold and steady in a way that scared even me. They're just keys. I looked around the condo, my condo, and realized that for him, everything here was just something. Just my inheritance, just my car, just my time, just my boundaries. For me, it was my safety, my work, my home, my future. I didn't say the next part out loud yet, but I could feel it forming, heavy and inevitable. If he saw my keys as disposable, then maybe he saw me that way too. And if that was true, then I was about to make the most expensive and most important decision of my life. I didn't answer him right away. He just told me they were just keys, like I hadn't spent the last 24 hours cleaning up the mess those just keys had made in my life. I sat there on the edge of the couch, hands folded so tightly my knuckles hurt, and made myself do what I do at work when everything's on fire, break the problem down step by step. Okay, I said quietly, let's walk through this. Sam groaned. Oh my God, Marissa, can we not turn this into one of your project postmortems? I ignored that. You made a choice to lie about where you were going, I said. You told me you were having dinner with your family so you could take my car. He opened his mouth, but I held up a hand. Then you made a choice to drive my car downtown and park it illegally in a loading zone outside a club. You made a choice not to keep track of my keys while you were out. You made a choice not to call me when the car got towed. And now I'm the one who spent my entire Sunday paying hundreds of dollars and dealing with a massive security breach to my home. He rolled his eyes again, like I was reciting a boring grocery list. You're being so dramatic. It's not drama, I said. It's cause and effect. You act like I did all of that on purpose, he snapped. I didn't choose to lose your keys. It was an accident. People lose stuff. Sam, I said, leaning forward, do you genuinely understand why what you did was wrong? He stared at me, then shrugged. I mean, I get that you're mad. I shouldn't have parked in the loading zone, but Jessica is the one who suggested that spot, by the way, not me. And I didn't lose your keys on purpose. It's not like I set out to ruin your life. There it was. Every responsibility framed as something that just kind of happened near him. Jessica is the one who parked, he added, like that was important. It was her idea. You should be mad at her if you want to be mad at someone. So nothing is actually your fault, I said slowly. He bristled. I didn't say that. You're twisting my words. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the defensive posture, the crossed arms, the way his eyes were already sliding back toward the muted TV, like this conversation was an inconvenience, not a reckoning. Something inside me that had been sagging for months, it finally stood up. I think you should stay somewhere else for a while, I said. His head snapped toward me. What? We both need space, I said. I don't feel safe right now. Not just because of the keys, but because of what this whole thing revealed. I need time to think without you here. You can't be serious, he laughed. But there was nothing funny in it. You're kicking me out? Over this? It's not just this. My voice was calm, but my pulse was pounding. It's the lying. The way you talk to me when I bring up concerns. The complete lack of accountability. I feel like I'm parenting you, not dating you. His face twisted. Wow. Okay. So I make one mistake and suddenly you're my mom? One mistake? I repeated. Sam, this is a pattern. The credit card I paid off when you forgot to make a payment. The traffic ticket I didn't even know about until the notice came to the house. The time your friends crashed here for a week and you said yes without asking me. He flinched, just a little. This is different, I went on. This isn't just money. You compromise my safety. You're overreacting, he said. You always do this. Blow everything out of proportion. This is my home too. You can't just throw me out because you're in your feelings. It's not your home legally, I said, and even as the words came out, I hated how cold they sounded. Your name isn't on the deed, or the mortgage, or the lease, because there isn't one. I invited you to live here with me, and now I'm telling you I need you to live somewhere else. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. You're really going to pull the paperwork card on me? I'm going to pull the reality card, I said. You can stay with Jessica for a while, or your parents. I'm not putting a stranger with my keys and address floating around on top of sharing space with someone who thinks I'm being dramatic about it. His eyes filled with angry tears. You're punishing me. You're using your money and your condo to control me because you know I don't have anywhere else as nice to go. That hit a nerve, because it was the fear that had kept me quiet for so long, that maybe I was the controlling one just because I was the one with the higher paycheck, the deed, the emergency fund. I've supported you for 2 years, I said softly. Paid for almost everything. You have never once heard me throw that in your face. But the one time I set a boundary, suddenly I'm controlling. Do you see how unfair that is? He looked away. I'll pack some stuff, he muttered, since you're obviously done with me. I didn't say that, I replied. I said I need space. What we are after that, we can figure it out. But right now, I can't keep living like nothing happened. He slammed drawers, stuffed clothes into a backpack, refused to look at me. When he left, he didn't hug me, didn't kiss me. He just flung the door open and said, You're going to regret this, Marissa. No one else is going to put up with how intense you are. The door clicked shut behind him. The silence that followed was so loud it made my ears ring. For about 10 seconds, I just stood there. Then I picked up my phone and called a locksmith. By midnight, I had a stranger in my hallway drilling out the old deadbolts. The sound echoed in my chest. Every time the metal screeched, I thought about that invisible stranger in some dark corner of the city, flipping my lost keys around in their hand. How many locks are we replacing? The locksmith asked. All of them, I said. Front door, secondary lock, mailbox, and I need to talk to my building manager about the garage and front entrance. He gave me a number, another 200 for emergency service. My chest hurt, but I said yes. Monday, I was at the building office when it opened. I explained what happened. They deactivated Sam's fob, and my old one, issued me a new one, took notes about him no longer being an authorized resident. At work, I went straight to building security, got a new office fob, had them deactivate the old one, and made a note on my profile about stolen access. By the time I was done, I'd spent close to $1,500 in 3 days just to get my life back to a baseline level of secure. Every swipe of my card felt like another little indictment of my own judgment. That night, my phone started buzzing. First, a text from Sam's mom. I can't believe you did this to him. Everyone makes mistakes, Marissa. You're being heartless. Then a longer one. You know Sam struggles. Not everyone is as stable and privileged as you. Holding your condo over his head like this is ugly. Where is your compassion? I stared at the words privileged and ugly for a long time. Then his sister Emma. Wow. Kicking him out over lost keys? You're financially abusing him. You used your money to make him dependent, and now you're punishing him with it. Financially abusing. I actually laughed, a sharp, humorless sound that startled me in my own kitchen. Over the past 2 years, I'd paid mortgage, utilities, food, trips, gifts, car insurance, random emergencies. I'd never once called Sam a burden out loud, even on the nights when I lay awake doing the math in my head and trying not to resent the numbers. But now that I was saying enough, I was the abuser. The next few days blurred. Sam texted, saying he'd be back on Thursday with Jessica to pick up more of his things. The subtext of "with Jessica" was clear. He didn't trust me not to flip out on him, so he needed a witness. When they arrived, the air in the condo felt heavier, like even the furniture knew something was wrong. Jessica wouldn't meet my eyes at first. She'd always been friendly with me, wine nights, memes, joking DMs, but today she hovered near him like a bodyguard. They started packing in silence, drawers opening, hangers sliding off rails, the thump of boxes being filled with a life I'd thought was a shared one. Can we talk for a minute? I asked him finally, standing in the doorway to the bedroom. He didn't stop folding a shirt. About what? About what happens next, I said. About us. He laughed, short and harsh. Why would I want to talk to you? You kicked me out of my home over nothing. Nothing? The word echoed in the space between us. He turned then, eyes bright with anger. Yes, nothing. I lost your keys. Big deal. People lose keys. People lose wallets. People screw up. Normal girlfriends work through it. They don't call locksmiths in the middle of the night and have a full security overhaul like you're in a spy movie. I took a breath. I didn't do all of that because you lost keys. I did it because you lied, took my car under false pretenses, disappeared for 8 hours, parked illegally, lost access to my entire home, and then acted like I was insane for being upset. You showed me how little you value my safety. That's the part I can't unsee. He shook his head. You just want to make me feel guilty. I want you to understand, I said. There's a difference. He stared at me for a moment, then looked away, his jaw clenched. I get it. I'm the screw-up boyfriend, and you're the perfect one with her perfect job and perfect condo. Congratulations, you win. That hurt more than I wanted it to. I opened my mouth to say something, anything that might bridge the gap, but Jessica's voice cut in from the hallway. Sam, I've got the last box, she said. She glanced at me then, quick and unreadable. We should go. He brushed past me carrying a box, shoulders rigid. At the door, he paused and looked back, eyes sweeping over the place like he was memorizing it or cursing it. I honestly couldn't tell. I hope you're happy, he said, alone in your precious condo. Then he left. The door shut. This time the silence didn't ring. It settled, heavy, real. I leaned my back against the door and slid down until I was sitting on the floor, knees pulled to my chest, the new keys digging into my thigh from my pocket. For the first time since all of it started, I let myself cry. Not just from hurt, but from something deeper, grief for the story I'd been telling myself about who we were. When the tears finally stopped, one thought remained, clear and solid. If everyone else thought I was the villain in this story, fine. I'd rather be the villain with locks that work than the heroine who leaves her front door open and calls it love. And somewhere beneath all that ache, a small, sharp feeling surfaced, uncomfortable but undeniable. Relief. For the first time in 2 years, I woke up alone in my condo. Not the soft kind of alone, the kind you choose after a night of good sleep and clean sheets. This was the kind that felt like silence pressing a hand over your mouth. The locksmith drill marks were still on the inside of my door. The metal was shiny and new, almost smug in its smoothness. My phone was face down on the nightstand, vibrating every couple of hours with notifications I refused to check until morning. But when 9 a.m. came, and I finally rolled over and opened it, the screen lit up like a slot machine of accusations. Sam's sister, Emma. You seriously need help. He lost keys. People lose keys every day. You're sick for making him homeless over this. Sam's mom. I raised Sam better than this, but I'm also shocked at you. Compassion doesn't cost money, Marissa. Privilege shouldn't make you cruel. Sam's aunt. He's devastated. He said you threw him out like trash. You should be ashamed. I stared at the messages, thumb hovering over the screen. I wanted to write back. Do you know he never showed up to your family dinner because he was clubbing in my car? Do you know he lied to all of us for 8 hours? Do you know some stranger might have keys to my entire life right now? But there's no point arguing with people who aren't here to listen, only to label. I set the phone down, walked into the kitchen, and started a pot of coffee. Halfway through grinding the beans, my phone buzzed again. This time, the vibration was long. A call. When I looked down, the caller ID almost made me laugh out loud in disbelief. Sam's dad, a man who had never called me once in 3 years. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text arrived. Please call me. This whole thing is getting out of hand. Out of hand. Sure. Because nothing says reasonable like 3 voicemails and 5 guilt messages before I've finished rinsing my coffee filter. I didn't respond. Instead, I sipped my coffee slowly, letting the heat steady my hands. I sat at the dining table, the one I bought, assembled, and paid for, and forced myself to breathe in the quiet. For a moment, it felt like peace, until someone banged on my door. 3 sharp knocks, impatient, familiar. I froze. Another round of pounding, louder. Marissa, open the door! Sam. I closed my eyes and exhaled through my nose. Of course. I walked to the door, keeping the chain on, and cracked it open. His face was tight, jaw clenched, eyes rimmed red from lack of sleep or self-pity. Hard to tell. I need to come in, he said immediately. No, I said calmly. You don't. I left something, my camera. I need it. I blinked. We went through all your things. You took everything you wanted. He shook his head violently. Jessica said she saw it by the console table. Open the door so I can get it. It's not here, I said. I cleaned the whole place yesterday after you left. He scoffed. Of course you did, quickly wiping the place clean of me. I didn't flinch. If I find it later, I'll message you. No! He pushed the door slightly, the chain straining. "Just let me in. 2 minutes." The tension in my spine snapped sharp. "1," I said quietly. "You don't push my door. 2, you don't get to demand access after losing the keys to this place to a stranger. 3, the locks have already been changed. You are not coming in here again without permission." His face twisted. "This is insane. You're insane. Do you even feel bad? At all?" "Yes," I replied simply. That caught him off guard. "I feel terrible about how this turned out," I continued. "I didn't want any of this, but I don't regret setting boundaries." He stared at me, breath shaking. "Boundaries," he spat. "Right. Fancy word for punishment." "You can frame it however you want," I said, "but I'm not apologizing for protecting myself." A long silence, electric, bitter. He dropped his gaze first. "Jessica was right," he muttered. "You're cold." I didn't rise to the bait. "Take care of yourself, Sam," I said, and closed the door gently. He pounded once, a sharp, angry thud, then stormed off. I waited until the elevator dinged before exhaling. The days after, the harassment didn't stop. If anything, it escalated. Monday, I woke to 17 missed calls combined from Sam's parents, sister, and aunt. Tuesday, Emma wrote an essay-length message accusing me of destroying Sam emotionally and financially trapping him. Wednesday, Sam's dad left a voicemail saying Sam was spiraling and I should do the decent thing and talk to him. Thursday, Sam texted asking to pick up the rest of his things. When he arrived, this time alone, he didn't look angry. He looked tired, pale. Packing went quietly for 20 minutes, the sound of zippers and drawers filling the condo like a hollow heartbeat. Then he stopped, turned to me, and asked, "Do you even feel bad about throwing me out?" I set down the mug I'd been holding. "I feel terrible about what happened," I said truthfully. "I didn't want this." "Then why did you do it?" he whispered. "Because I had to protect myself," I said softly, "and because you didn't take responsibility." He scoffed. "I apologized." "Once," I corrected. "Barely, and not for everything." He narrowed his eyes. "Then what do you want? You want me to grovel?" "No," I said. "I want you to understand why I'm hurt." His voice hardened. "Because I lost your keys." "No," I said. "Because you lied. Because you took my car under false pretenses. Because you didn't call me when it got towed. Because those keys gave strangers access to my home. Because you dismissed my fear. Because you made me feel crazy for caring about my own safety." His lips pressed thin. "I already said sorry." "You said my bad while checking your phone," I said. "That's not apology. That's inconvenience." He threw up his hands. "My friend Kayla forgave her boyfriend after he cheated. But you," he pointed at me, shaking with indignation, "you can't forgive me for losing keys?" And that was the moment something in me finally stopped trying to save this. I looked him straight in the eyes and said gently, "Please finish packing." He grabbed the last box, walked out without another word, and this time didn't look back. After he left, silence again, but this time it didn't feel suffocating. It felt like the first clear breath I'd taken in months. And yet, that's when the next storm arrived. Thursday evening, 6:44 p.m., unknown number. "Hello?" I answered cautiously. A stern voice responded. "Hello, is this Marissa Cole? We're trying to reach a Samuel Torres regarding an outstanding payment. He listed you as a reference." My blood ran cold. Sam used my number, for credit, without asking. I hung up and immediately pulled my credit report. Thankfully clean. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. He didn't just lie. He didn't just disrespect me. He didn't just endanger me. He used me. For months, maybe years. And I'd been too busy loving him to see it. By the time I finally sat down on the couch that night, my chest felt raw from the inside out. The truth wasn't clean or simple. It wasn't one bad night. It was a pattern. And now, finally, I was starting to see it clearly. As I stared at the empty doorway where he'd stood for the last time, one thought settled in my mind with absolute clarity. Not cruel, not triumphant, just true. I didn't lose him. I found myself. Below is Chaum, Part 4. Continuing the rewritten cinematic script with all gender swap rules, emotional depth, and dramatic tension maintained. Ending with stop as required. For a few days, life in my condo was quiet in the way an abandoned stage is quiet. The props still there, the lights still warm, but the actors gone. Sam's family had slowed down their calls, though not out of understanding. I suspected they were regrouping, waiting for a fresh angle of attack. I was wrong. They weren't done with me, not even close. Hecht, the building incident. It was a Wednesday morning when my building manager, David, called. "Hi, Marissa. Sorry to bother you, but we had an incident this morning involving someone trying to access your unit." My heart dropped. "Who?" "Samuel Torres." "Of course." "What happened?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Well," David said, clearing his throat, "he tried to use his old fob to enter through the garage, but it was already deactivated. Then he asked the front desk to let him up to your unit to grab something. When security refused, he became agitated." I closed my eyes. "I'm really sorry he caused trouble." "No need to apologize," David said gently, "but I wanted to give you a heads up. We have it logged, and just so you know, he seemed very frustrated, loud. We had to ask him to leave." Loud, agitated, trying to get upstairs, while carrying no valid fob, to a condo he no longer lived in, after losing keys that could let a stranger walk right inside. My pulse fluttered shallowly against my ribs. "Thanks for telling me," I said. "Please continue not letting him in, under any circumstances." "Absolutely," he replied. "You're protected here." I hung up and sat on my couch, teeth clenched so hard my jaw ached. Sam wasn't just refusing to let go. He wanted access. He felt entitled to it. And that realization tightened something in my chest that felt like fear or fury. Maybe both. Tap the credit card. Saturday morning, I was making eggs when my phone buzzed with a fraud alert. Unrecognized charges detected. Restaurant, 119.80. Restaurant, 82.46. Clothing store, $137.30. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly what this was. Because a year ago, when Sam said he was struggling a little, I had given him one of my credit cards. Just for emergencies. Just to help. Just because I wanted to be a supportive partner. I called the card company immediately. "Yes," I confirmed. "Report all charges as unauthorized." Then I called Sam. He picked up on the third ring with a groggy, irritated, "What?" "Did you use my credit card?" I asked. Silence. Then a sigh. Yes, I was depressed. I needed to get out of the house. I took Jessica out to dinner. "And the clothing store?" I pressed. Another pause. "New work clothes. I've been trying to reset my life since you kicked me out." I closed my eyes. "So you used a card you were supposed to return a year ago?" I asked. "Without asking me? After everything?" He bristled. "Don't talk to me like I'm a criminal. Being depressed is an emergency, Marissa, or is that not serious enough for you?" I rubbed my forehead. "I canceled the card. The charges are being reversed." He snapped instantly. "Why would you do that? Now I'm going to have issues with the store." "You used my card without permission," I said. "That's fraud." "It was 3 purchases. You're blowing this way out of proportion like always." "I'm done, Sam," I said. "Stop calling. Stop showing up. Stop using my name." He hung up on me mid-sentence. I stared at my reflection in the black microwave door, feeling a sick, cold heaviness settle in my chest. Emergency card, emergency locksmith, emergency boundaries. Everything with Sam was an emergency. Everything with him was a crisis that somehow became my responsibility to clean up. And this time I realized I didn't want to clean anymore. The password war. By that afternoon, I'd changed every password. Netflix, Prime, Spotify, Costco, DoorDash, everything he'd been using for free for 2 years. Not spite, just separation. Within an hour, at Sam. "Wow, you're petty. Changing the Netflix password? Seriously?" Damn Emma. "This is harassment. Stop weaponizing your money. You're sick." I muted them both. If protecting my own accounts counted as weaponizing my money, then what did giving him a free ride for 2 years count as? Generosity? Stupidity? Love? Maybe all 3. Jade, the cost of loving someone who never pays. That night I sat down with a notebook. A clean page, a glass of wine, a calculator. Then, for the first time since he moved in, I added everything up. Rent he didn't pay. $2,400 is 24 months equals $57,600. Utilities I covered. $200 $24 and $4,800. Groceries. $400 and $20.97. His portion of car insurance, phone bills, MIS expenses, $5,000. Trips, dates, gifts, repairs, emergencies, is $8,000. Total and 85 and give or take, 85,000 now. Nearly the cost of a down payment, nearly the cost of trusting him. I stared at the number until it blurred. Then I whispered to myself, almost afraid of the sound. Never again. The debt collector. Just when I thought I'd hit my limit, the universe sent a test. Thursday evening, my phone rang. "Unknown number," I answered cautiously. "Hello?" A clipped professional voice replied. Good evening. We're trying to reach a Samuel Torres regarding an outstanding balance. He listed you as a reference. Of course he did. Ma'am, the agent said when I was silent too long, are you able to provide updated contact information for him? No, I said, I'm not, and I did not consent to being a reference. The agent sighed sympathetically. We get that sometimes. I hung up. My hands were trembling. He used my credit, my card, my condo, my car, my life. And he still felt owed. The email. The very next morning, I woke to a long, emotional email from Sam. It was the apology I had waited 2 years for, and the manipulation I had learned to recognize just a few weeks earlier. He wrote, and that he knew he made mistakes, that he lied because he felt insecure around me, that losing the keys wasn't disrespect, just anxiety, that being with someone so put together made him feel small, that I overreacted by kicking him out, that he wanted another chance, that he still loved me, and that he knows we can fix this because we always have. I read it 5 times. My chest tightened with every sentence, not because I wanted him back, but because the old me, the one who had held everything together for months, still wanted to save him. But the new me? She knew better. She knew the difference between regret and responsibility. She knew the difference between loving someone and paying for them. She knew that apologies are easy, change is hard, and accountability is rare, especially from him. I closed the laptop, took a deep, steadying breath, and whispered, "You're not my responsibility anymore." The next part of the story, the part where I decide whether to write him back, that came with its own shock, its own revelation, its own twist, and it changed everything. I didn't respond to Sam's email right away. I couldn't, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew exactly what I would say if I didn't take time to breathe. I forgive you, come home. That was the dangerous part, because forgiveness had always come easier to me than boundaries. And Sam knew that. He counted on it. So instead of replying, I closed my laptop, tucked it under the couch blanket like it was radioactive, and forced myself to sit with the silence. A whole day passed, then another. By the 3rd day, I finally opened a blank reply window. I kept it simple, clean. No emotional padding, no soft landings, no letting him twist my words into promises I didn't make. Sam, I appreciate the apology. I'm glad you're reflecting. But right now, I need to put my well-being and safety first. I don't feel comfortable getting back together or living together again. Maybe with distance and time, things will become clearer. For now, we need space. Please take care of yourself. Marissa, I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. The moment I did, something inside me unclenched. Not relief exactly, more like release, like exhaling after holding your breath underwater for too long. He didn't respond, not that day, not the next. The silence didn't scare me, it soothed me. The first real peace in months. The condo felt different. I didn't notice it at first. The quiet, the stillness, but then the patterns emerged. No clothes thrown over the couch. No half-finished cereal bowls left on the counter. No gaming headset screaming through the thin office door. No piles of laundry accumulating like geological layers. No tension in the air, humming like a power line ready to snap. I could hear my own thoughts again, and I liked them. I slept better. I ate regular meals. I worked without feeling someone else's chaos tugging at my ankle. On a sunny Tuesday morning, something even more unexpected happened. I laughed. Not at a meme Sam sent. Not at some half-hearted joke to smooth things over. I laughed because the barista accidentally gave me a croissant I didn't order, and it felt like a gift from the universe instead of another thing to manage. Tiny joys I didn't have room for before suddenly had space to bloom. Sam's mom, the final call. 2 weeks after my email, my phone buzzed with a familiar name. Mrs. Torres. I braced myself for shame, guilt, accusations. But when I answered, her voice wasn't sharp. It was tired. "Marissa, I won't keep you long," she began. "I just want to apologize." I blinked. "For what?" "For how we all reacted at first," she said softly. "We heard Sam's version and jumped to defend him. But since he moved back home, we've seen things." My chest tightened. "We didn't realize how much you were handling," she continued. "We didn't realize how irresponsible he's been, she hesitated, "how difficult he is to live with." I felt something sting behind my eyes. "You didn't deserve the way we talked to you," she said, "and I'm sorry for that." It was the first apology in this entire disaster that felt real. I still think you could have been more patient, she added gently, but I also understand why you did what you did. I hope you find someone who appreciates how steady you are. My breath caught. Thank you, I managed. After we hung up, I sat quietly on the balcony, Vancouver stretched out beneath me like a breathing, glittering map. For the first time, I didn't feel like the villain of this story. I felt understood. An unexpected encounter. The following week, I walked into a local coffee shop, the one Sam always complained was too hipster, and saw someone I didn't expect. Jessica. She froze. I froze. Then she gave a small, awkward smile and stepped forward. Hey, she said, can we talk? I nodded cautiously. She gestured for me to sit. We sank into a corner booth. She fiddled with her straw, then looked up, expression raw. I owe you an apology, she said. I raised an eyebrow. She exhaled. Sam stayed with me for a while, and at first I thought you were being cold. But then I lived with him. There was a hollow laugh, self-aware, painful. He didn't help with anything, she continued. Didn't buy groceries, left messes everywhere, stayed out late, and when I asked him to pitch in for rent, he said I was being a bad friend. She shook her head. It only took 2 weeks for me to understand exactly what you were dealing with. A tight breath left my lungs. Relief. Validation. Bittersweet. I'm sorry for judging you, she said. I get it now. I really do. Something in me settled, like a puzzle piece clicking into place. Thank you, I said, meeting her gaze. That means more than you know. She gave a small, sad smile. Honestly, you handled it better than I did. When she walked away, I felt lighter. Not vindicated, not triumphant. Just free. Therapy, truth, and the cost of clarity. A week later, I started therapy. Walking into that room felt like handing a stranger all the tangled threads of my life and hoping they knew how to weave them into something that didn't hurt to hold. In our second session, my therapist said, "You confuse generosity with love. You give to avoid conflict. You overextend to maintain peace. And then you resent yourself quietly when people take advantage." Her words landed like a soft punch. Your inheritance didn't make you responsible for rescuing someone else, she added. It made you think you had to earn being loved by giving more than anyone asked for. I went still. She was right. I had been paying for loyalty, paying for stability, paying to keep a man who treated my life like an all-inclusive resort. It wasn't love, it was fear disguised as devotion. I walked out of that session feeling raw and exposed, but grounded. Finally grounded. Reclaiming my space. Over the next week, I rearranged the condo. Not because I needed a makeover, but because I needed ownership. I moved the couch, replaced the rug, donated the mugs he bought on some impulsive whim, hung new art, slept diagonally in the bed just because I could. Every change was a small declaration. This is mine. I choose this. I choose me. The nights were peaceful. The mornings were easier. My work improved. My cooking tasted better. I laughed more, breathed deeper, felt present. Not lonely, just unburdened. The final tally. One evening, after closing my laptop, I looked at the spreadsheet I'd made. The cost of loving a man who believed he deserved everything he never earned. Total expenses, mistakes, losses, emergencies, favors, $90,000. $90,000. I stared at the number, and instead of heartbreak, I felt clarity. Some people lose money in bad investments. Some people lose money in failed startups. I lost money on a relationship. It wasn't a tragedy. It was a degree. An expensive education in boundaries, self-worth, and the truth that love without accountability is not love at all. I closed the spreadsheet, sat back, and let the city lights wash over me. For the first time in 2 years, my home was quiet for the right reasons. For the first time in 2 years, I felt quiet inside, calm, grounded, whole. I had lost a boyfriend, but I had found myself. And that finally felt worth the cost. 6 weeks. That's how long it had been since Sam walked out of my condo for the last time, the door clicking shut behind him like the ending of a chapter I hadn't realized I'd been stuck in for far too long. People love to tell you that breakups get easier with time. What they don't tell you is that sometimes the easiest part is the breakup itself. It's the after, the rebuilding, the relearning of yourself. That's the part that stings, then stretches, then frees you. And that was my 6 weeks. A slow, careful, quiet kind of freedom. A house that finally felt like home. The condo didn't feel haunted anymore. For the first time since Sam moved out, the silence felt like mine. A peaceful, steady presence, not an absence or a wound. I woke up without dread. I cooked whatever I wanted, in whatever order I wanted, without someone asking if I could just grab one thing for them too. I worked without headphones. I sang while doing dishes. I rearranged the furniture again, just because it felt good to change something without negotiating. One evening, I caught my reflection in the window at dusk. I looked different, lighter, more myself. Not the version of me who rationed emotional space to make room for someone else's chaos. Not the version who tiptoed around another person's moods. Not the version who explained common courtesy like a life lesson. This version was quieter, yes, but she was grounded. And she was learning to like herself again. Validation from unexpected places. 2 weeks after Jessica apologized at the coffee shop, something else happened. A notification. Instagram. Jessica posted a story, a photo of a small box of Sam's things she was returning to him. Caption. Some people don't know how to be grateful even when they're given everything. Boundaries matter. She didn't tag me, but I knew who it was about. I turned my phone off and sat still for a moment, letting the feelings settle. Relief, not satisfaction, not revenge. Just relief that I wasn't crazy, that the problem hadn't been me. The universe kept holding mirrors up to the truth, and each one reflected the same message. I had done the right thing. The final phone call. One evening, around dinner time, my phone rang again. Mrs. Torres. This time I answered immediately. Marissa? She said softly. Yes? I just wanted to say, thank you. I blinked, stunned. For what? For telling us the truth early, she said. For not dragging this out. For giving Sam a chance to take responsibility before things got worse. She sighed, a weary, heavy sound. We've been arguing with him constantly. He's fighting with everyone. He won't do chores, won't contribute, keeps blaming everyone except himself. It's been difficult. Her voice cracked, just slightly. I didn't want to believe it when you first told us, she said quietly. But now I understand why you set those boundaries. I understand completely. My chest tightened. Thank you, I whispered. I hope, she added, gentle and sincere, that the next chapter of your life brings you someone who truly appreciates how big your heart is. I closed my eyes. Me too. Healing and therapy. Therapy wasn't a magical 180-degree transformation. It was slow, messy, sometimes painful, but it was honest. I learned that I had a habit of overfunctioning in relationships, doing twice the work to avoid even half the discomfort. I learned that being needed wasn't the same as being loved. I learned that guilt had been steering my decisions more than desire ever had. But the biggest lesson was this. Boundaries are not punishments. They are protection of the self you're still becoming. My therapist said something in our 4th session that I wrote down and taped to my fridge. You are not responsible for someone else's potential, only your own. Every time I read it, a knot in my chest loosened a little more. The true cost and the true value. One night, I sat on my balcony with a blanket around my shoulders, sipping tea while the breeze carried in the distant hum of cars and city lights flickered across the skyline. I thought about the number, the $90,000 I'd essentially spent supporting someone who never learned to stand on his own feet. Money I would never get back. But instead of anger, I felt a kind of clarity I'd never known before. That money had bought something, not a relationship. That had been a poor investment. But the lessons, they were priceless. I learned what I will and will not tolerate. I learned that love without respect is just attachment. I learned that being generous doesn't mean becoming a doormat. I learned that protecting my peace is not selfish. It's sacred. And I learned that the right partner would never make me pay this kind of emotional interest again. Ever. The end. Or the start of something better. On the 45th evening since Sam moved out, I stood at the balcony railing, Vancouver glowing beneath me like a second sky. The air was cool, my hands were steady, my heart was healing. Not perfectly, not instantly, but honestly. I held my new set of keys in one hand, the cold metal grounding me. My condo key, my mailbox key, my office fob. All mine, all secure, all symbols of a life I was rebuilding on my own terms. I turned the keys over slowly, thinking of everything they represented. Safety, boundaries, independence, peace, a hard-earned reset, and a promise, one I whispered into the wind as the night deepened. I won't let anyone treat my home, my life, or my heart like they're disposable ever again. I closed the balcony door behind me, locked it, and smiled to myself in the quiet. For the first time in far too long, I felt whole,